tonight is going to be a heck of a treat. The guy's just a wealth of information. The guy actually, for example, I said, I don't even want to do much talking tonight, even though I'm going to be interviewing him through the whole process. What I want you guys to do is just understand where this guy is coming from, what he has to offer, and I said we got a lot of good things to cover tonight. So, Chris, you probably hear a bunch of feedback though, but hey, welcome tonight.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Patrick. I appreciate it. No, it sounds fine. Sounds fine to me. So.
Okay, good. So what we're going to do is this, Chris, is I'm going to start off. I got a couple questions now. All these people from all over the country actually sent me a ton of information and a ton of questions that way, and they're just so excited that you're on tonight. So what I'm going to do is, for example, Dr. Chris tonight has said you've got a wealth of experience in a very short time, years of practice, and I'm excited to see, for example, like I said, all these chiropractors, and actually there's a couple of medical doctors on here tonight too, that will look at, for example, in the economy that we have today, they're not thriving. They're surviving, and we come from practices, for example, that share the same exact philosophy. We may do things a little bit different, but we're doing the same goals, doing the same things, and the philosophy is still very the same. And so a lot of people have called to Doc, why are practices thriving so much and some of them very surviving? So why don't we do this to start? Why don't you just give us a little background about yourself, and because I said you got a pretty unique background, why don't you give us a history with what you got started, and then we're going to get into a bunch of the questions that all these practitioners have across the country for you.
All right, awesome. So this October will be 7 years I'm in practice here in the Woodlands, Texas. And I started back, I played classical piano. I was in competitive bodybuilding. So, that's kind of where the work ethic came from. But when Mr. America in 98, I was on top of my field at that point. And a couple years later, the way I got into what I'm doing now is, all of a sudden I got a life-threatening disease called ulcerative colitis, where my wife saw me go from 230 down to 158 in about 4.5 months. And I went through every medical route I could, prednisone, you name it, chemotherapy, organ rejection medications, interferon, Remicade, and the only option was to remove my colon, and that would have been, and be sterile and all that stuff. So it was just not a good time in my life. And then someone introduced me, and that's where I got introduced to corrective care chiropractic, where, but at the time, of course, I was skeptical and I just didn't want some other things. I went to the best in the country, let alone now, is this going to be another thing that's going to give me hope? And just a false hope, where I would just be frustrated. I was just really scared. And learning principles on how the body was created to heal, function, operate. Over the course of 7 months, I gained 35 pounds, the blood stopped, and I avoided surgery and sickness and disease. And that set me on a course. My testimony became my biggest test became my biggest testimony. And through that, that was my mission. That was my calling in life, to go out there and educate people on taking full responsibility over their health, and understanding that, their health is ultimately the result of the choices that they make, knowingly or unknowingly. And there's a lot of people out there that are making choices or not even realizing they're making wrong choices because they have a wrong MAP of what health really is, and they think they're doing the right thing, but ultimately they're causing more harm. And then they expect to go to the doctor and then, for them to fix them up perfect, which is that's putting responsibility in the wrong hands. You want to make sure that they're able to take care of their health, and they can't just run to someone when their health is gone saying, help me, fix me, when it's already too late. So we want to make sure that we get the people beforehand, understand their health is their greatest asset, and coach them. See, I think that's the difference, Dr. Pat, is, I'm a chiropractor and I do things, but, I'm more of a life coach. I'm coaching them because as a coach, right now with the Olympics, I guarantee some of those gold medalists, most of the gold medalists, there was a time when they were in pain, they were uncomfortable, and you know what? The coach wasn't trying to appease them, because the coach was just trying to bring the best out of them. And they might not like the coach during the practice, but they love the coach when they're on the top platform with the gold medal. And that's the way I am with people. They are, I'm their health coach. I don't take the blame, I don't take the credit, and they earn it. And when they earn it, I give full credit back to them and the creator that made them. So that's kind of my approach to doing it, and that's why we kind of do the things we do, that you'll find out, I guess, over the next hour.
Right, and that's one thing, because one of the questions that people had is what motivates you. And I believe, and that's why I want to start off with your story, is the fact that you went through a crisis and you regained your health. And that's a big thing, and that's why when people say, hey, Doc, Dr. Chris Zaino, what's his motivating factor? Why can you have a practice? Is because you are their coach. That's one thing that, for example, that going through your past history, even becoming Mr. America, you had to train at a high level. And one of the next questions that said after that motivates you is the question a person had is, how much training do you do? Do you see the fact that with your practice, does it ever stop?
Yeah, it does. And, one of the most important things I've ever done, and I do every day, is just like, so Dr. Patrick, in October, you're going to have an awesome seminar. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be great speakers. Everybody's going to get inspired. Everybody's going to be totally pumped up. I guarantee everybody will. That's just the way it is at a seminar, especially this one, the massive lineup. But you know what? I see a seminar as like a huddle. In football, there's a huddle. Everybody huddles. All right, we go over the plays. Once you break, and then we do the play. But a seminar is a huddle, so you could go back home into your hometown and apply what you learned to take your life to a new level. But everybody, I always hear this after the seminar, I can't wait till you do another one. I can't wait till the next seminar, because people are just trying to get that next buzz, that next high, that next level of inspiration, but it's only the huddle, It's like you need to go back into your town and actually apply it. So I realized early on that I love seminars, and I love the way I feel, and I get inspired from them, and I get that one or two bit of information that keeps me focused. So every single day, on my iPod, hey, listen, I would love to listen to music all the time, but I know if I listen to, for me, either chiropractic philosophy tapes, Tony Robbins, whatever, Anthony Robbins, just amazing speakers. My iPod is filled with amazing speakers, whether it be pastors, whoever it is, stuff that is totally feeding my inside, man, my mind, to keep me focused. So every day when I'm working out in the morning, early morning, I'll hear a conference call, or I'll hear something there that, I'll hear that one line, Dr. Patrick, that automatically gives me that kind of convicted feeling you get at a seminar, like, oh man, yes, this is where I was off, and it keeps me focused. So if I do that every day, or at least 6 days a week, over 7 years, I'm constantly in my seminar mode. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly being pushed out of my comfort zone. I'm constantly being refocused on where I've been. Maybe if I'm sliding off track, I'm going back towards true north. So probably the most important thing I do to prepare and to stay focused and to keep on growing is constantly listening to audios of people who are, people you look up to, people who have, wisdom. I'm constantly listening to wisdom, and that's really been the huge thing. And as easy as that sounds, many people that I talk to, they just don't do it. They do it for a little bit, but it's got to be on a. I'm asking, just work out, ride a bike, put on your, listen to it in your car, and I mean, I listen to guys who've been dead for 10, 15 years, and watch still their legacy is still going on in me because I'm carrying the torch. And so that's been a huge factor in my training.
One thing that's happened, guys, for you guys that are on the call, one question just popped up is, are we taping this call? Absolutely. You'll be able to listen to this thing over and over during your training process that way, because we're going to talk about training a lot tonight. When I first got to know Chris, everybody, it was kind of neat. All of a sudden, I'm up bright and early. And Doc, let me ask you a question. This is just a quick answer to this one. Do you think you can have a thriving practice sleeping till a half an hour before you run into practice?
No, you can't. I mean, some of you guys out there, you're good enough where you could probably pull it off in the beginning, but it's going to catch up to you, Yeah. It's something where, you can't. I mean, I personally couldn't run in the office because I'm off, and, I got to be centered,
Well, that's a big thing. One day, Dr. Chris and I were conversing the day before and stuff like that, and then he sent me an email at 5:02 in the morning, and it popped up right away because I was already on the computer in the morning, working, reading my Bible, studying, doing things. Because, for example, is in the practices that we have, constantly studying biochemistry and all things, it actually takes us to a whole nother level. So the learning, the studying, the training just never stops. And the sad part about it is a lot of people look at that as work. And one of the keys, I think, to that thriving practice, and you can hear the intensity of talking to Chris here, guys, and this is the big thing, is this. It's got to become, it's got to be a part of you. If you look at this that you don't enjoy it, you can build a successful business. But to thrive when the economy is down, to thrive when people, Wisconsin licenses alone, Dr. Chris, went from 1,200 under 900 within about 2.5 years. They're dropping like flies. And the sad part is, for example, and that's why a lot of people are saying, hey guys, how can you have $1 million practices in a time that's so disruptive? The economy is crazy. The politics are going crazy. Everybody's worried about the election. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not worried about the election. We're worried about those sick people that need to be coached. And which brings on another good point, Dr. Chris. Now, you're so intense about your training. Now, what's the difference between you doing your training and you carrying over to the patients?
There's really no, the care of the patients, it's all about congruency for me. I would never ask my patients to do something that I'm not doing. So whatever I speak, and this is a big thing, don't say something just to say it, or to have a good script, because I know there's a lot of scripting in chiropractic and things. If you really believe it, then say it, and so and say what you mean. So, let your yes be yes and your no's be no. And because my belief is what my patients don't see, they know. So I could put on a front, I could do all these things, but if innately, their innate wisdom in their body knows that there's something in them that's not going to connect, because they realize I'm a sham if I'm not being congruent. So I want to make sure, and that's even how the Zaino experience happened, making that, it was just to show congruency. And I'm not perfect, and my patients know I'm not perfect. I'm okay with showing them being vulnerable and showing them where I'm not perfect, but at least I'm congruent. Because that's the thing. People try to put on a big show, and see, you're really hurting people. And I think congruency is the most part. So I realize if I'm going to ask my patients to eat a certain way, or exercise a certain way, or take care of their spine, or do these things, or focus, if I'm not doing it and I'm asking them to do it, I'm a hypocrite. So I can't be that. And let me go back to the whole thriving in this economy. You hear me, Dr. Pat?
I got you.
The whole thriving in this economy, I refuse. I am outside the whole bubble of the economy and the elections. I refuse to play a part in that. And because I know they just built another wing on the hospital in my neighborhood. The hospitals, they're not surviving. They're ridiculously thriving in this economy. So the thing is, they're thriving, and I refuse to play a part in that in this whole scarcity mindset. And that's the thing. For every person that's doing bad, there's someone who's doing awesome. And so the thing is, people still care about their health. They need it now more than ever. And the hospitals are building parking garages because they can't fit enough people on their, in their hospital. And so my job is to keep as many people out of that hospital as possible. And I'm a small, I'm one office. So I realize that to me, there's an abundance of new patients. Like right now, this week alone, we had 80 new patients come in just this week alone that are scheduled. And it's just because I went out in the community last week. I talked 7 times last week, and in 27 minutes, I told the principle of what health and healing is. And these people said, you know what? I'm going to look into that. I'm going to take responsibility of that. So that's what I do. I just speak the truth. And, it's hey, half of you will take it, half of you don't want to do it. That's fine. I'm like the Pied Piper when it comes to health,
And so your training that you've done individually now has actually led to train your patients. Because the biggest thing, I think the mistake that people make today is they want to doctor the patients. They want to use chiropractic as a treatment. They want to use the aspects of the practice that we do as a treatment. And we have to teach them that, for example, listen, we're basically almost like a life coach for you. Who's going to guide you to that maximum health, the wellness that you want to achieve? And just by saying, okay, listen, you have a thyroid problem, let's take care of it. You have a back problem, let's take care of it. That's still the wrong mindset. We want to turn our patients into basically we're the coaches for them, and they're the Olympic athletes. And we're trying to get the best out of them. So your congruency as moving that training individually, personally, moves into your practice that way. So incongruencies are really going to destroy their life and also their practice that way too in what we're looking at today.
Because I want lifetime patients. So if I want lifetime patients, like just in any relationship, because you are entering into a relationship, whether it be a coach, a relationship, I can't, you can't lie or be incongruent in the beginning because they're going to find you out later on. You only can hold up a facade for so long. So if you could just be truthful and honest and transparent in the beginning and real, and really explain, this is what is expected of you as a patient, and this is what you can expect from me. And you really lay it out nice for them that they know what to expect and understand this is long-term. This is a lifestyle change. This is a way of living. You know, then there's no like, oh, there's no bait and switch. No one ever feels, well, that was weird, or when's this end? Or, you know, like a lot of times, because I want lifetime patients. I have patients that say, here's my credit card. You know, we're never going to talk finances again. I'm in for life. And that's what you want. And that's really what everybody wants. But you can't just say that's a cool idea. You got to actually make it happen. You know, so what are we going to say? What's our verbiage? How do we communicate with our patient? So I can't be an effective chiropractor if I'm not an effective communicator and coach.
And I just got a text somebody. And guys, listen, for example, because a lot of people on here know me directly and just sent me a question for you. If you guys have a question, you know, write it in the chat box. Trust me, we'll definitely get your questions to me or Dr. Chris that way. We'll definitely answer them, love to answer them. But here is the question for you, because they know we're going to go on to another question, is, Dr. Chris, could you please just give me an idea of your morning routine?
Sure. All right, so tomorrow morning, you know, I'll wake up at about 4:30. And I never feel like getting up, you know, but I get up anyway. So 4:30, I'll wake up, you know, I'll go to the gym, I'll, you know, do my, and then in the gym, now when I'm in the gym, I'm working out, whatever, you know, that's when I'm listening. I'm working out and listening to whatever. So if you guys are chiropractors, I have Reggie Gold on right now. So I'm listening to his stuff, you know. So, you know, I'm getting in. I will get convicted when I'm working out, boom. And so I work out, I come home, you know, and then that's when I do my studying. So I'll read Bible time. I'll read a chapter of New Testament, a chapter of Old Testament, a chapter of Proverbs, chapter of Psalms, and then just take some time to just really pray or just meditate. And what I mean meditate, it just, you know, I mean, I have 200 times more problems than a lot of people. So there's some things that I'm dealing with in my personal life that, you know, I got to sit and I got to go to God with and just sit in silence sometimes and be like, you know what, I just got to give this fear and worry over to you, because there's some things I can't control, and just kind of get right, you know, and just get everything there. Then I have a book I'm reading, you know, and I do a chapter there, just usually kind of a mind book or something like that, and then, you know, take care of myself, do all that other stuff. Then my wife, she'll get up and she'll make a greens drink for me, and that's just all, you know, the top, you know, kale, all that stuff, just a, you know, a total green shake. I do all that stuff, and, you know, I'm ready to go to work. And I go to work at 7. So I start adjusting. I go from 7 to 10. And then I'll come home. So then I have maybe from 11 to 3 at home, you know. But during that shift sometimes, if I feel my energy and my focus is going away, I might have to refocus for 15, 20 minutes by, you know, reading something. Or, you know, like I gotta consciously, you know, I got to consciously subject my flesh to becoming focused. And, you know, it becomes a habit, you know. But I also could walk in and just, you know, and that's another thing, like adjusting these people. It's not an emotional thing either, Dr. Patrick. It's not like I walk in and there's like lightning bolts come out of my hands with 2,000 people. Just, you know, I go in there because, you know, it's just my calling. It's what I'm supposed to do, you know. So it's not like, you know, someone asked me the other day, like, you know, what do you say before you adjust someone? Like there's a mantra or I'm saying a spell. It's not. It just is what it is. I'm showing up. You know, I'm being obedient and I'm showing up. And I'm doing the best I can to make sure my vessel, I'm showing up with the best prepared vessel that I can be.
Fantastic. And I have to jump into this question right away because it's a question that when I saw this come across a couple days ago from a doctor, one thing, guys, when you have a successful practice, I think, and this is where I love Chris's honesty and integrity, and I will tell you this is not a joke. How I met Dr. Chris was, for example, of all the people I coach and all the people I know, they kept on saying, you got to meet Dr. Chris, got to meet Chris, probably the most humble, honest guy you're ever going to meet. And the cool thing I liked about it was this. And the question is, Dr. Patrick and Dr. Chris, now that you guys have big practices, do you ever deal with problems in the practice? If you're online right now and you send me that question, I'm not laughing at you. But what happens is this. I've always preached this. Practice is tough. Okay, you're always going to run into certain problems that way. Yes, we have the stories and the miracles of people getting pregnant. Heck, I had another infertility case get pregnant today. We have all that. But to think that, for example, that you're not going to have difficulties, that's why, for example, when you are listening to personal development tapes, when you're listening to things that actually add to your life, life itself is not easy. But what happens is, for example, I love what when people actually say, listen, there's going to be adversity, there's going to be things, there's going to be people that say, I don't want to pay you, there's going to be things that where staff's a problem, there's going to be all that. But what happens is, for example, it's all in stride considering the fact that we're motivated to have a bigger purpose. There's always going to be stumbling blocks in the way. So don't think, for example, just because, we can collect $200,000 a month, that, for example, that there's not obstacles that come up that way. Guys, listen, I've had people ask me all the time, do patients ever say, no, I don't want care? Well, of course they do. Like Dr. Chris said, you're going to go out there and you're going to speak, you're going to get laughed at, you're going to be told you're ridiculous, you're going to do all that. I always like to tell people, say, hey, listen, come up to our offices and learn from our mistakes. Everybody has great stories about all the great successes. But I think more of us being honest, and that's why I like Dr. Chris so much, guys, is because why? Because it's transparency. I look at my books, look at my financials, look at my numbers, look at all stuff like that. And having that experience for a person to come in and say, wow, Dr. Flynn, you do have a successful practice. Dr. Zaino, you do. But guess what happens? It's not like it came easy. It's not like there's not things you deal with that way, because a lot of people get discouraged in practice. They get discouraged that something happens and that it's tough to take. No, guys, that's where your training mentally has to say, listen, some will, some won't next. And Dr. Chris, can you evaluate? You elaborate on that?
No, you're right. I mean, I have a new doc starting in my office today, and I sat him down. I go, you're going to become the best doctor ever, and I'm going to train you the best way ever. And I go, and all the good training lessons are going to sting really bad, and because they sting so bad, you'll never make that mistake again. So what you got to understand is, seeing 2,000 people a week, believe it or not, I fail more and I fail faster than most people on this line. And what failing faster means is my learning curve is a lot higher and a lot faster, because I had to learn from failing or getting stung or getting whatever. I have I have great, I have 100 great things and 100, so everybody wants to, be the top, but they don't want to, lift the weight, So the thing is, trust me, I experience, if I see 10 times more than another office, I have 10 times more the problems. And because of those, you have a quick learning curve. You got to learn how to prevent those and so you're constantly, learning different ways, and that's where my systems develop. That's where my communication skills develop, because wow, this person acted in that way because this happened or that happened. So I'm constantly making sure that, we have a very effective communication system, and basically my practice has been really built off of all the failures and all the bites in the butt that'll never happen again, or I'll try to. I mean, I still have issues, trust me, but yeah, it's not an easy ride up. It was not given. But you know what? It all depends on how you respond to that. So do you respond to that in fear and scarcity, or do you see that as tuition? To me, it's tuition. And so when I see tuition, I'm like, thank you. And it sucks because we're dealing with people's lives. That sucks. So that person, they say, well, this will not work anymore, and they go into a medical model that might not be the best for them. But, it sucks that a human life has to be at stake for it. But you know what? I'll make sure it never happens again, or I'll do the best I can. So that's how I go on that.
Amen. Chris, got a question here, and I'm going to let you answer this first. And first, I'm going to set the question up a little bit. So I'm going to ask it. I'm going to go through a couple things, and I want you to answer this for me, Dr. Chris. What would you say are the three most important things to do to build a great practice? Now, somebody on the panelist, say online, just asked that question. Now, also, another question is this, because we're going to answer this in two different ways. Also, another person says, Dr. Flynn, Dr. Zaino, what's the difference between your practices? Now, that's a lot of people always say, for example, like, well, Doc, you have this, and Dr. Chris has this. Actually, both of our practices are based on the same exact principles, which is the chiropractic philosophy. Okay? For example, is this. Wellness Enterprises actually, for example, does not teach people the chiropractic part. Okay? I'm going to click to our next slide here so everybody take a look. The one thing that I always tell people is, listen, I've actually told a bunch of my clientele, I've told a bunch of the docs I coach, I even told the medical doctors, I said, listen, if you want to learn, for example, how to build the best chiropractic practice on the planet, go and do the Zaino experience, okay? That is, for example, he will teach you an amazing way to do certain things. Second of all, what happens is, what I really teach more, for example, is we know that chiropractic is based on the 3 T's, trauma, toxins, and thoughts. I spend a lot of time with all the whole laboratory diagnostics and stuff like that to deal with the toxins and the thoughts process that way. Okay, so really our philosophy, how we handle it, is the same. We're always dealing with the chiropractic philosophy. We adjust a lot of people in our office too. So what we do is we kind of intermix it pretty well that way. And so when someone asks you, and listen, so Doc, from your viewpoint and everything that we do, can you give the people here that ask the question the three most important things to build a great practice?
The first thing is you always want to be coachable. That's the thing. So I'm totally coachable, and I'm willing that if you do it better, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to be taking notes. So the thing is, I'm always coachable. I'll never. So that's one thing that's called practice. No one has the perfect practice. So we're always learning. You always got to be coachable. Once you think you know it all, that, and then pride sets in, you're going to have issues. Number two, the thing is, to answer the question, it's not what's different between Dr. Patrick's and my office. Of course, we could say, our procedures are different, or Dr. Patrick teaches more of this, or I teach more of that. It has nothing to do with our procedures. We teach what we are convicted about. So Dr. Patrick is absolutely amazing and passionate about certain things. So if you stick to the things that you're absolutely passionate about and do that really, really well and communicate that really, really well and do the things you enjoy to do in that niche, it'll be great. I mean, then you'll succeed. Because I teach, and Dr. Patrick, his niche is what he loves to do. He didn't have that niche because, I can make more money this way. When you talk to him on the phone, this guy absolutely genuinely loves what he does to the point where it's not work to him. So the thing is, it doesn't feel like work to me because I just do, and I actually delegate all the other stuff out that I don't enjoy doing and I'm not passionate about because they drain my energy. So if I just focus on the things and teach the things that I absolutely love and I get charged over, I have more energy at the end of the day. So do and educate the people, and that the education of the person and the patient is it. If I could change the paradigm and change the thought and be a thought leader for that patient and be their coach, then you have very good qualified patients. And the third thing is so it's being coachable. It was doing that is and I had it almost, but it just let's stick on those two things. And the third thing is basically just always moving forward. Always, like I said, going back to the first one, just being coachable, always willing to learn, and that's the big thing. I love what I do because I stick to things. So for me personally, if I was to have like teeth whitening in my office, or if I was to have a very insurance-driven practice, a lot of PI cases or workers' comp, that would admit, because people are trying to build law cases and stuff like that. You're dealing with insurance companies. That would make me very tired and very sleepy. That just might not thing. That's just not my calling. So the thing is, so I could run that off. I could probably run that office into the ground. But if I stick to the things I love to do, then I'm more successful than anybody else because it's not about the money. It's not about any of that. Like when I'm doing what I love to do, you get supernatural strength. Like this is when you rise to a level that no one else could get there educationally. It's something because it's coming from within. And I remember the third thing is simplicity. I really make a lot of times when people come to my Zaino experience, these doctors think they're going to do all this extra stuff, and I actually show them they're actually removing things because we have to simplify your life. You'll find out there's a lot of things you might be doing in your practice just to fluff it up because you're trying to get validity or acknowledgement that you are a really good person or a really good doctor. A lot of times chiropractors do that. If there's ever a picture of an athlete getting adjusted, everybody puts it on Facebook because it's like, see, we really are good. People do like that. See, I do not see myself as a stepchild of medicine. I know exactly what I do, and I have faith, confidence, and belief in what I do. So I simplify it. It's just like I don't have to dress it up. It is what it is. The principle is simple. Therefore, the practice has to be simple. And I think if you could just be coachable, if you're constantly doing and educating people and teaching them what you love to do and what you're passionate about, and simplify your practice and simplify your life. And you only could simplify it by educating your patients. So my patients know you're only going to see me for about a minute. They know if I spend more than a minute with you, I'm wasting your time. There's people like, well, how can you see those people? And don't they think that, no, they know ahead of time what to expect. And I explain, they know why. Because I'm here to adjust your spine. It's like turning on a switch. It takes me 30 seconds to a minute to do it. If I rub your back and if I'm talking to you, I'm just wasting your time. And so they know my role because they know their body does the healing. I don't do the healing. And so that's a big thing. So it's having a level of confidence and certainty in what you do. And really, I want to attract the patients I want to have in my office, lifetime patients, and I want to simplify my life because if I try to bring everybody in my office, then things get really complicated and it becomes very busy and frustrating.
Mm-hmm. And I have to agree. My first one is always this: is you have to be a constant learner. If you think you know everything, my goodness. And I think that's dealing with my niche that I deal with so well that way is, for example, people come in because they're medically frustrated because their doctors were frustrated with them. They actually didn't help them. And what happens is, for example, they act like they know everything. And so I always tell people, listen, I'm learning stuff every day. And so you have to be, like I said, that's a great word. You have to be coachable. You have to always never stop learning. But there's a big key, and I wanted to cover that. We kind of, as the 3 successful things, remember this question was just asked. It's kind of funny how similar we are, Dr. Chris, on this. In my office, for example, what happens is I do my thing very well every day in my office that way. I have a doc in my office who's actually a sports practitioner. And guess what? He loves extremities. He loves rehab. Dr. Chris, you know something? That bores the heck out of me. I couldn't imagine sitting there popping on an elbow and telling people how to rehab it. But you know something? He's extremely successful at it. Why? Because he loves that stuff. And I even tell him, and if somebody comes in, like, go see Dr. Zach. Now, I also have another doc in my office that is actually a clear certified guy who's great on the corrective care. He just loves it. He loves doing all the films. It's amazing that's their passion that way. And I have one guy that will just sit in the office, and all he likes to do is adjust. That's it. And he's done it for 30 years. And the great thing is, for example, in what we've done is we put those people together under one roof that allowed them to do what? Really love what they do. So it's very easy. Like I said, it was a great day. I was swamped from 9 o'clock all the way to 6 o'clock. And what happens is the day flew by fast. It's very, it's a very enjoyable day, but you got to have what you really love to do. Don't let dictate, from what, okay, a chiropractor does this and they got to adjust 2,000 a week and they got to, they got to see this, they got to see all these things. No. If you think that that's what you want to do, then guess what? Go for it. We have interns come to our office from all the schools consistently. I'm never without an intern that way. And it's kind of funny because they have this like model, like you said, they got to follow this format, and it's not really what they want to do. And I'm like, listen, guys, scratch that. You have to do what you really love out of the practice. If you want to sit and adjust all day, do it. It's great. If you want to do exams all day, great, do it. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do as long as you're sticking within the principles and philosophy of what we do. Don't try to be something else that way. So that's a very good question as far as like the 3 most successful things, because they should relatively be different for everybody that way. It depends on what kind of practice you want to have. And that's one of the biggest aspects is choose what you want to do. That's how you thrive. Because here's what happens. You can see anything you want. You can do anything you want. And if you do it and you're unhappy with it, you're going to burn out fast. People burn out a lot, not because that they're busy, not because, for example, like Dr. Chris, seeing over 2,000 people a week, for example, they burn out because they're not doing what they love. They're not passionate about it. Dr. Chris, would you agree with me on that?
I absolutely agree. So what we're talking about here, I don't even think we're talking about practice principles. I think we're talking about laws of life. And philosophical principles that and there's a lot of chiropractors that maybe you shouldn't be chiropractors. I mean, because you're struggling, but it's like maybe you like something else. That's the thing. I'm with you, Dr. Patrick. When people come to my experience, they think I said this is not about seeing any volume. Like, what do you want to do? I'm not gonna force upon what I do. I go, I see the people because that's just that's what I was chosen to do. I didn't come out saying this is going to happen. It just happened that way. So you can't mimic it. If it's not you, I tell people, I go, imagine your office, like create your life as a canvas. Paint your canvas of what your office wants to be. You want to see kids and pregnant ladies? If that's your main niche, then do it. Once we had a doctor that he was corrective care. His wife loved children and pregnant women, and he was trying to bring her into his type of realm of practicing. I'm like, No, the heck with that. Let your wife practice the way she loves to do, and you practice what you love to do. This doesn't have to be the set mold. And really, and that's freedom for you guys. I mean, because that's the thing. It's not about the paycheck. You could be a miserable millionaire, or, you know, it's not about that. You just, because you're going to burn out if you're making, like Dr. Patrick said, if you're making good money and not loving it, you're going to burn out quick.
And that popped up, Dr. Chris. Someone said, how do you avoid burnout? And I can always give this example, because let's even get off the health realm. I have a really close friend of mine. His name is Mike Pienta, a great buddy of mine. I'm not a big car person. I drive a pickup. Yeah, I know I'm up north hillbilly that way, but actually I drive a pickup, and what happens is this. He gets all excited about sports cars. He works on them. That's what he does. And the funny part is this. I don't even like cars. But you want something? When I'm around him, I actually like cars because he's so passionate about it and he loves it. He can sit and work on it. Man, I don't change my oil. I don't put the air in my tires. I don't do anything. I don't even, you know what I'm saying? I don't even detail my car. I don't even vacuum it. I have somebody else do it. Why? Because it bores the heck out of me. But when you're around people that are extremely passionate, Mike never gets bored with cars. And that's why you're going to find out. Dr. Chris doesn't get bored with adjusting. We don't get bored with it that way. So the way to avoid burnout is don't get into a practice or into a mode. If guys, listen, I don't start till 9 a.m. Dr. Chris starts at 7. Why don't I start till 9 a.m.? My reasons are different, but that works best for me. So I'm not trying to fall into that mold that says, hey, listen, I have to do this. Dr. Chris has to do this. No, you avoid that burnout when, for example, I've always taught all the guys that I coach. I say, listen, really you have 3 things that you want to do if you're a chiropractor. You want to get people well. You want to make good money doing it, and you want to spend time with your family, okay? And you have to put all those factors in life, and that's how you avoid burnout. You don't actually conform to what is out there. You set it up for your part of your life. You set up what's, like I said, back to those life principles, and then guess what? Then you work your tail off to make that whole thing happen. So, Dr. Chris, what do you think about how to avoid that burnout?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you love what you love to do, you know, there is no burnout. I mean, you do get, but there's not saying you're going to have ups or downs, and that, you know, you need some time off to refresh. I mean, you're going to feel yourself come real. But it's weird. You know what? It's more energy management, because there's some weeks where I feel what you would consider a little bit of burnout, but in that same day I could be feeling burnout. But if I get, I know if something, even without getting rest, if something good happens, or my mindset focuses, or I hear good news, I totally bounce out of it. So it's not really a physical burnout. I think it's more, if anything, it becomes mental, not physical. And so the mental thing is just that's where you're constantly training, and you do need things off. So for me, like, I have my outlets. You know, you need your thing. So I know, Dr. Patrick, you love golf. You know, and so for me, you know, I have my things that I wouldn't say escape, but they're things that recharge me, you know, and so you need to have things recharged, because trust me, people think I walk around with green books and I'm in the chiropractic philosophy. That's furthest from the truth. You know, I do my things, but if it's a Sunday, you know, I'm a principled person, so I see everything through that filter. But, you know, I enjoy life too. You know, I'll go see a movie, I'll, you know, drive in my car, do whatever I need to do, play video games with my son. So it's not like you got to be in this state of, like, it's not an emotional thing. That's the thing. It's like I just do my job and I show up. And yes, you will have, you know, good days and bad days, but it's not. But still, there's people that are dying. You know, I'm serving people, so I don't have the luxury of burning out. And that's the thing. So if you're burning out, it's inward, it's selfish, versus you know, there's people that need you. So you know what gets me out of it, Dr. Patrick, when I do go to work, and I'm being selfish some days. And, you know, crap, you know, I'm just tired or whatever. And you know what? But when you hear that patient, you know, hey, listen, I just want to let you know that, you know, this has totally changed my life, and this and that, or my son's life has changed now. And just to really hear that, and know that if you didn't do it, but you played a part, and you were a vessel in that whole equation, that pulls you out of it real quick. Then you realize, wow, I'm feeling burnt out because I'm just not being grateful. And so now then it switches me from thinking selfish to being grateful. And then that changes things. So it really is, again, Dr. Patrick, it's a headspace thing. It's a head thing, not an actual physical thing. I can understand if it's by athlete, you know, but not a chiropractor. There's no physical burnout there.
Right. Which leads to this. Someone just sent in our message, said, Dr. Chris, obviously training, can you please explain the Zaino experience?
the Zaino experience is what really people, it's absolutely not what you think it is, you know. So it's not about coming here and, you know, learning all this stuff to change you. It's to actually bring the best out of you. So what the Zaino experience is, you come here, you get, you know, we start about 10 o'clock on a Friday. You come here a little bit earlier on Friday, see the shift, and you get to see how things are going. Because I have to show people that you can do it and it can be done. And then when you actually get to see my life and see, because when people see me on stage or doing this, the problem with being on stage is people have a false imagination of who you really are, and really that you're not this real person. And so when you can see, and so at the end of it, you're basically saying, well, he's just a real person. He has the same crap I have to deal with. He goes through the same stuff, even worse than I go through. But you know what? He could do it. I could do it. And then I saw it happen. I was in it. I was immersed, and I could see it be done. And then we go over all the vital procedures, processes, communication things, and I take you around the town. I take you to different people or different places that are the number one and the best in what they do. And you're going to find out that success, there's principles of success, whether you're a chiropractor, a dentist, a restaurant owner. And so we get to learn from the best, and you'll see that all the principles are the same. And we really teach you congruency, because it's not what I do in the practice. There's a lot of stuff I can help you there, but it's what you're going to see what I do outside the practice, how I live my life, what I do in my life outside. And you see, you know what? And it's there to show you incongruencies. It's there to show you some holes, to make you aware of things that you can see something you weren't aware of before, blind spots. And once you're able to shift those blind spots and approach or even be aware of them, your life and practice change. And if you go on my website, there has not been one doctor that has not dramatically changed their life, and because their mindset changed, and because their mindset changed financially, they have quadrupled. I mean, they literally made their profits went up 100%. It was just out of control because they became more certain. They cleared a lot of stuff. Man, I will clear so much crap out of your life, because I'll sit there. You know, one guy was like, for instance, one guy says, well, every Friday before I go home for dinner, my staff sends me my stats. And then because we bring the wives along, your wives need to come too. And, or, you know, and so I noticed that, you know, the wife was like, every time he comes home after seeing his stats, we have horrible dinners, he's choking it down. So I really saw that his quality of life and family, I'm like, how about not getting your stats on Friday? I go, because when are stats ever good? Because, you know, if you have a bad stat, life sucks. When you have great stats, the next one's going to be suckier. So it's like, so why are you conforming to this stat thing? There's so many variables. So it was a mind opening. What, you mean I don't have to look at my stats before Friday? Yeah, you don't do that. You don't look at something that could totally change your state and affect your home. Because we believe what's more important than your practice is home. It's always been. There's God and your family and your God, your spouse, your family, then your mission. And so many times, you know, we're trying to grow this practice while sacrificing our home lives. Or our spouses are at home supporting us, but they're dying on the inside. And so we want to make sure that this is a life change. And so, you know, you spend all day Friday, you stay at my house, you know, so, you know, and then we wake up early. So you wake up early Saturday with me, we'll go work out, we'll study, we'll do the whole training rituals I do. You go to the office, you'll see me in an hour, I'll just maybe 150 people. I'll do a doctor's report so you can see how I educate patients. So again, we have dentists come, we have ophthalmologists come, because it just showing the person, wow, I could be bold, unapologetic, and very audacious in educating my patients the way I want to. And so it gives them confidence that they could go back and really be the leader in their practice and build the practice they want. And then each one's different, but we always have some really cool, fun things we do to make the experience even greater. And it really is a life shift. You'll never be saying, you only could do it once, Dr. Patrick. It's a one-time opportunity. You only do it once, because I'm not your coach. I'm not there to coach you. I will lead you to the people you need. If you want to learn more here or more there, I can lead you in that direction. But I'm telling you, it'll give you the necessary shift or eye-opening experience to start making the positive changes in your life, to do what you want to do, not what I want you to do. You know?
Dr. Chris, I hate to tell you this, I actually disagree with you since the first time we've ever talked. Of course you lead people. You're an amazing leader that way. So
Yeah.
you actually do a wonderful job at it. And so guys, like I said, a lot of you guys on the phone call know me directly. I'm telling you right now, get to it. It's worth it. It's life changing that way. Dr. Chris, did I personally ask you to come down and do it myself?
He did, absolutely.
Absolutely. Because why? Because I am a constant, never-ending learner that way. And so it was kind of neat. And the key thing, like I said, love what we talked about, leadership, okay, which leads us to the next thing there, for example. And the reason why, for example, I love what Dr. Chris has to offer is, we have other major things that are really going on. We have some great things that are going on out there. One thing that I asked Dr. Chris to be involved with right here is what we call our Leadership and Longevity Conference. And guys, just let you know, I saw Chris, a bunch of questions jump up. So I'm going to go through a couple slides, guys, and then we're going to go back to the questions on there. And so, guys, if you just hang on there, we got plenty of time left here. But let me go over a couple things really quickly that way. When Dr. Chris talking about that experience, that learning, that leadership, what happened in my career, for example, is what I've always saw at chiropractors. And yes, there are medical doctors on here right now, so let's put you in that whole aspect. It doesn't matter what practitioner you are. What happens is there's two things that mean the most to us. We have to have leadership. Even if we're not coaching people, we're always coaching people. We're coaching people in our offices. We're coaching people in our homes. We're being that leader aspect of it. Another thing that we've always wanted was to live a long, healthy life. So if you guys wonder, well, I said, listen, what do these doctors need to see? Well, I said, listen, I coined the phrase and said Leadership and Longevity Conference in October. Get this, up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yes, there is actually a Packer game during that weekend, so I will be bringing some of you guys to it that way. We have an amazing conference that we're doing, and here's some of the speakers, okay? And as you can see them on there, look at the top left, Brian Tracy. Now, if anybody on this call has not heard about Brian Tracy has more books at Barnes & Noble than any other leadership coach in the world. He's actually absolutely amazing. I've been to his week-long trainings that cost me $15,000 for a week. Now imagine that, okay? That's why I paid to be trained by him. I work on his coaching because just like Dr. Chris talked about, getting up in the morning, getting that mindset right. You have to have that leadership mindset. So back to the aspect when we talked about our topic, are we surviving or thriving? Well, it's a choice. I get up like that nice and early like Dr. Chris does, and I get that mindset right. And I will tell you this, hey, you want something? There's sometimes, like he said, I don't pop out of bed, but I show up. You know what I'm saying? I get up. I've disciplined myself. I have to be there. And that's what a true leader does. He pushes beyond that mark. And if you come down to the middle picture down here, Kerry Obenberner, okay? He's actually one of John Maxwell's, okay? John Maxwell's right-hand man. I almost got John Maxwell here, but he was actually busy during that week, and I couldn't pick him out of it. But so he's sending Kerry Oberman, which is another phenomenal leadership coach. He's actually known Kerry Oberman is actually just like John Maxwell was. He's a pastor who's moved into the leadership realm. John Maxwell endorses all his books, everything. And then you can see there's our leaders on there. Now, the great part is, you see there's our doctors there. You see Dr. Chris. There's other great chiropractors that are going to be there. One of my buddies I went to college with, Dr. Chuck Majors, who survived cancer, brain cancer that way. I also have another buddy of mine, Dr. Jason Lang, who practices not even 30 miles from me, and we are a very close friend, another great chiropractor that actually gets 1,000 plus a week on there. Then you're going to see other docs, for example, like Dr. Shelby Lane. She's one of Oprah's docs. Actually, I was just on her radio show, actually last week on infertility. It's quite that was a couple weeks ago, and infertility. But then you have other things like Dr. Nathan Bryan. He's a professor and doctor at the University of Texas Medical College. So he said, and Dr. Kendall Stewart, a neurologist. See, we have all these great doctors that wherever practice you want, you can actually work towards whatever you're passionate. David Wolf is probably the #1 expert in superfoods in the whole world. Okay, he's amazing. The great part is, for example, we put these speakers. I've learned from everybody on here. Everybody on this list here. I've learned from Dr. Chris, Brian Tracy, Lavelle, Joe, all these guys. All these guys are great leadership people. They're great longevity people that way. And what we did, for example, is I actually created a VIP. Okay. In the seminar, I'm going to pop off my screen real quick, but in the seminar, guys, hang in there with me for 2 seconds. I'm going to pop over to the website. The website is www.leadershipandlongevity.com. Now, if you actually go, and as you can see, I can pop through here, our location, our seminar, our speakers, we have them all listed out. It's pretty amazing, who we have coming that way. And it just gives a whole list of their credentials, everything, okay? Now, what happens is this. The seminar is actually on a Thursday and Friday, okay? Now, what I did is I clicked on the VIP. The seminar is on a Thursday and Friday. What happens is Thursday is a leadership day. All day, you're going to hear the best leadership speakers in the country. On Friday, you're going to hear like Dr. Zaino. You're going to hear all the other longevity speakers, okay? So we separate the days. One's leadership. We're going to be intensely trained. You're going to walk away with books and packets and everything. You're going to be trained by some of the best. Friday is going to be all leadership. Now, Saturday is by VIP only, okay? Now, let me explain what we're doing. As you can see, some of our speakers, some of the longevity ones, Nathan Bryant, Kendall Stewart, Chris Zaino, Michael LaCour, other doctors that are going to be teaching. What we're doing is this. If you're a VIP, for example, you actually will be not only, in fact, you'll have a private training in my office actually on Saturday with these docs, okay? And what you're going to do is this. We're going to have topics going all at one time. You can choose to listen to anybody you want. Dr. Chris will be teaching something in one room. I'll be teaching something in the other. We're going to have multiple things. That's going to go on for from like 9 to 2 on Saturday, but that's only a VIP. If you come for a seminar, for example, it's just a Thursday or Friday, but if you're part of the VIP. Now, I will show your tickets, for example. As you can actually see, for example, our VIP tickets, now think about this, for what we charge on this. It's quite amazing what we're going to do, okay? So if you kind of go back to our thing here, our Thursday, Friday, VIP, there are VIP things that happen on Thursday and Friday that allow you to get there, but Saturday is the big training. Now, what happens, guys, is this, is our ticket price is $299 for the VIP, $295 for the VIP. If you go to the website, okay, as you can see, and see the big word, Thrive, so what you're going to do, you're going to go, and I hate to tell you guys, you only got a couple hours to do this. If you go to the website, go on the VIP here, okay, and see this down here, it says enter promotional code. If you type in Thrive, this price changes down to $199, okay? And for example, but here's what happens. As you saw on the thing, you've got till midnight tonight. So you got a very short time to decide what you're going to do, but let me ask you a question. When you look at the stuff that you pay for, $295 for a seminar is amazing already, but when you can do all of this for 3 days with the training for $199, guys, I tell you, it's psychotic. I mean, my goodness, I paid $15,000 for a week training with Brian Tracy and a group of, I think there was 800 people there. So this is actually detailed private training that way. And like I said, what's the stuff you heard from Dr. Chris? He's going to be teaching some amazing stuff. I'm going to be teaching some great stuff. All the other docs that are there, no joke, you'll see one of Oprah's doctors, Shelby Lane, there. You're going to see the neurologist that's there. You're going to see, for example, like I said, Dr. Nathan Bryant talks about cardiology. So all these great experts, whatever trips your trigger, guys, that's the thing. It's not about, for example, you don't have to do everything. You can choose what is your main passion that way. That's what leads you to what you do. But as you can see, for example, this, go on the website, www.leadershiplongevity.com, go on the promotional code, type in Thrive, and nice thing is you can go right through it, okay? Now, Dr. Chris, do you have anything to add on that before we go on to the rest of the couple of questions before we end?
No, I'm excited about it. I can't wait. And I don't try,
yeah.
with my wife being pregnant and stuff, I really pulled down on my traveling. So the only places I choose to travel are things that I'm really supporting and I'm for. So, this is one of the things that I'm traveling for. So this is, the two things. I canceled everything else just to be home with my wife. So, but no, yeah. So I'm definitely behind this and excited to. I'm excited to go there and sit in the crowd. To tell you the truth, I'll have my
me too. Now, Dr. Chris, we got a couple questions. I love this, Dr. Chris. We have a lot of students on here, and a student had a question directly for you. As a student currently attending chiropractic school, what would you, Dr. Zaino, say is vital for me to do before graduation in order to come out of school and start a successful practice? That's a big question, but what do you got that for?
Oh, no.
This is for Catherine.
No, you go around and you have an idea of the practice you want to have, and you find the doctors that are successful doing that, and you go and you drive there, you fly there, you do whatever it takes, and you offer to work for them or sleep on their couch or sleep on their floor and just learn, even if you have to pay them something, whatever. So you sit there and that's what I did. My wife and I, we went to offices similar to the way we wanted to, and they were great people. They were servants. They really helped us out, and we were able to then get the things we need and learn through experience and just sleeping on their floors, whatever it took. And so when I walked in September of 2005, and we were open October 2005, having the having the practice, and we never were in debt once. We always profited. We never were in the red because of what we did. We went around humbly and asked for help. That's the thing. Everybody's not. You got to ask for help. You got to go. You got to work for them. Ask questions, and they will be happy to help you. I'll be happy to help you, and you get to really see, wow. Okay, so then you could pick the bones out of the fish. So I took some from this guy. I took some from this lady. I like the way they do this, and then I was able to paint this masterpiece. That was to start the office. So my office is different than what I started it at, but that's fine. The evolution of who you are, you change. But you know what? At least it gets started. Success breeds success. That's what this whole conference is about. You don't reinvent the wheel, guys. Take it from people who have already done it before you and they're successful, and you can model it and be just as successful.
Yep. And Dr. Chris, it's kind of funny you say that. Guys, listen, it's, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I started my office on $500 on a dead-end street in an old abandoned warehouse. Not a joke. On a dead-end street. I didn't have any money. I was dead broke when I came out of school, just like you guys were. But the one thing I did, and I went to Palmer, okay? And you know what the funny part was? When I was going through school, all the people were partying like crazy. I was scraping money so I could drive to a good doctor's office of something I took from them. And I took a little bit from them, a little bit from them. Next thing you know, when I got to practice, we grew fast. And listen, I didn't have any. I didn't even have a phone, guys, for the first 6 months of my practice for all you students on there. Nothing but that. I didn't have a phone. I couldn't afford one. Saying it was before cell phones were really big that way. So you don't have to get this mindset. And like that Chris said, you ask for help. A good doctor will help you. He will open his door to you that way. And that's what you got to do. And so, for example, I got another question on here. Mike, I got a good question. Mike actually said, was there a student rate? Well, Mike, let me ask you a question. When we look at this and what's going on that way, when we look at some of the experts that we have, trust me, if you just said we want to come to one of the days, we kind of keep the price the same because we actually as cheap as we had it, trust me, the amount that costs us to get those people there, so we kind of keep the prices the same for doctors or students that way. Or if you choose, for example, to get a hold of us, because there's actually doctors that I know that are actually giving scholarships to people that way, so it's one way to do it. So a couple more questions there, Dr. Chris, that they wanted to know before we get going here. Any warnings or pitfalls to avoid to practice?
Any warnings or pitfalls to avoid in practice?
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
That's a tough one.
It's actually, all those warnings or pitfalls kind of made me who I was, so I don't know if I would time machine. That's like, I know you're not asking me to get into a time machine, but I don't regret anything. You know what? I would avoid chasing after a patient. Like when a patient comes in your office, you can't be needy. And so if you're needy, if you become needy, you start to chase or try to win or try to coerce. And I will tell you, all the patients, all the times I've had board complaints or false lawsuits against me, I could tell you right now, I would see who it is. I'm like, oh my God, that was the one we chased down. That was the one it was like convincing your ex-girlfriend to come back with you. If it's not feeling right, listen, if you understand it is their health, it is their problem that they have that they need to correct. It is it's really not your problem, it's theirs. And from that standpoint, they need you. If they're not willing to do what it takes or follow the rules, then invite them to go somewhere else where they would follow the rules, or someone else doesn't care as much. So all the ones, Dr. Patrick, because in the beginning of practice, guys, I understand, money is an issue. You're trying to get your money. You're trying to build this and that. And then so if you let that money really dictate it, and the one thing I did that was really well, because to allow me to focus on serving, is I let my wife handle all the finances, or you find that person that handles all the finances. So it kept me separated from that, so I was able to just focus on serving and being resultless. Because if I was resultless and I wasn't care about the end results, yes, I wanted them as a patient, but again, if they're not going to take control of their health, it doesn't matter if I gave them $1 million or gave them my care for free. And so all the ones I chased after, all the ones where I'm like, I got to win this one, I got to coerce them, I got to convince them, it always came back and bit me in the ass and cost me a lot of money. Even though there was nothing, I had nothing wrong against me, and they found, but you know what? Just to get a lawyer to write a letter was $2,000. Just sucks. So where I could have been like, you know what? I should just told them, hey, well, your health is your priority. We'll be here for you. We love you. And, you know, just let us know when you're ready. It would have saved me heartache, you know.
Yep, and I got one different kind of warning that way, and mine comes from seeing doctors that call me up. The one thing about owning wellness enterprises, coaching doctors all day long and leading them, is they call when they're in detriment sometimes, and they're looking for that next best thing. Like Dr. Chris said, you know, there's some things you're passionate about. Don't look for next best thing. Look at what you love to do. The biggest warning I have for people is this: watch your debt. Okay, I have people, yes, you're going to come up and get trained in my office if you decide to become a VIP, and guess what happens? Yes, I own a 50,000 square foot mall for my office. Yes, I own this. Yes, I have a 10,000 square foot office. Yes, we have all that. My office started in an abandoned warehouse, for example, and I think it was maybe 800 square feet. Okay, the debt aspect with people, for example, is this. Really, you want something, guys? This is not a joke. Ask all my original patients. I used to hang my full spine X-rays up on a window because I couldn't afford a view box. The X-rays were taken in another doctor's office, so it was great. I'm not a joke. I have pictures, and that I did my line analysis because I'm more of a Gonstead guy. I did my line analysis where the X-rays were up on the window, and it's not a joke. Watch that debt. You come out of school in huge debt. I started my office on $500, okay, but you know something? I took that. And then I strive for better things. And then when I took my money, I got rid of my student loans. I got rid of my debt. I didn't get into stuff like that. And because why? Because when you have that freedom, there's peace there. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you know something? We all have the things. We have that school loan. You want to pay it off. I will teach, I promise you guys, I can teach you how to even do all the stuff I do in my office. I can teach you how to do it on a very small budget that way. I teach it every day. So what I want you guys to understand is don't get into that. When you see our offices, God bless Chris. Chris, the beautiful office you have right now, did you start there? Did you have all those things when you first got out of practice?
I had a 1,200 square foot office, and 300 of it was a bathroom. So listen, I saw $2,000 a week, and it was $3,000 a month rent. I had paper travel cards. Yeah, low-tech rehab. It was just, you know, extension traction, and I was just, the only thing that cost me, I had to knock down walls, you know, and here and that, and I had curtains that I would pull to kind of section off the office, so I could divide it into little rooms to show people their X-rays on view boxes. So I really made the most of the 1,200 square feet. I mean, the AC would leak, and I mean, you know, we just imagine. I mean, there was no overhead, man. But when I went to my new office, because I could, you know, overhead, I tripled the square feet, but my overhead went up 10 times. So like your square foot, it's this amazing logarithmic increase. And, you know, but now it's comfortable. I could do it, you know, I mean, but in the beginning, you know, it was just, so that's why when anybody says, oh, they want this big office, I'm like, listen, if you want to, you know, you get it. I mean, I really don't think more than 1,200 square feet is necessary. I had one exam room, and that was the X-ray room, and we were able to do it. And so I guarantee most people, you'll be fine with that. And you don't need fancy computers. I had some software for scheduling, but everything was paper travel cards. And, you know, it was great, man. But looking back, Dr. Patrick, I don't know how the heck I did it. It was like part of me was just so naive to things that it was almost a blessing in disguise. Looking back now, because I've gotten comfortable in certain things, I'm like, how the heck did we even pull that off? But you can, you know, you make it work.
Could you imagine that if you called up to my new patient and I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go 15 miles away from my office to a buddy of mine here in town. We're going to take some X-rays. We took them. We drive back to my little hole in the wall, dead-end street, and I tape the X-ray up to the window and kind of do a report with a little bit right away. So
yeah, I mean, I just think, you know what, you were on purpose. You know what I mean? No one told you couldn't do that. That's what I'm saying. Like don't you are not. I refuse to play a part in the economy. It's like what do you mean? I can do whatever I want. I can make it whatever I. If I want to show X-rays on you made the best with it. And you just stories like that, like you're saying, Dr. Patrick. That's what makes you appreciate where you are today. And it just like, you know what, that was a great test. You know, you were responsible. You were responsible with a little bit, and because of that, you are now responsible with much. And that's the whole thing. Yeah, you don't because you just you did with what you had. You had to work on what you had. And look at how you're doing today. And it built increasing work ethic. And your office is nice today because you know what, it can do. And if you want to do that later on, great. You know.
Exactly. So, guys, Ron had a quick question and said, do I have a weight and workout space in my office? Actually, we do have a rehab area that way, but also, too, it's kind of neat. In a month and a half, so you guys will see this when you come here, we have a gym open up in our office. Since I own a whole building, actually, we're opening up a gym right attached to it that way, so we have some pretty great stuff there. So, guys, for example, trust me, now I see some of you guys as students down there. Guys, listen, if you want me to come down and talk to your school and stuff like that, definitely get a hold of me. You can call me. You can call my office. You can call Wellness Enterprises and stuff like that, because I'm going to be down in Palmer here in a couple of weeks speaking down there. And actually, I got to go to live speak pretty quickly here. But trust me, guys, if you want to be trained to a whole nother level that you never have, look at the VIP status. Join around. You can just pay $110 and come to Thursday and Friday, and your life will be changed. But when you really get that Saturday, they see out-of-the-box healthcare training. Yeah, we're even providing our good organic lunch for you. Yes, we're going to be sitting there. You can learn from all these longevity speakers personally. Ask them questions one-on-one. Ask them stuff like you have with Dr. Chris and I tonight. It will be mind-blowing. Now, your VIP special, they said after tonight, no joke, it goes back up to the $295, so you can get it for a very discounted price that way. Also, too, when you look at the hotel room, for example, you can click actually on the website and it can link you to the hotel if you want to go hotel room also there too. So, guys, I appreciate you guys actually being on. Like I said, we've had a lot of people online today. Also, too, it is recorded, so we do have a lot of people that have emailed me today. I think I had over 100 emails today saying, are you recording it? Yes, I am. So if anybody wants to listen to it or anybody wants to see it, they'll definitely be up on our website. We're going to email it out to the people that are on it. You can forward it to people that way. Dr. Chris, never disappointed. Never disappointed every time I talk to you. One of the most humble men, most incredible men. I love that you're so open about the fact of all your struggles and everything like that. That's a blessing right there. That's right there to learn from the students. Understand that, okay? So I appreciate everybody that's on here tonight. Watch for other things. Sign up, for example. Check us out on Facebook. Look at Patrick Flynn on Facebook. Look at Chris Zaino on Facebook. We're always posting things about what we're teaching, all the different webinars. If you guys ever have any questions, you can actually go to thewellnessweightclinics.com. Going back to all the things that we do, we have the different aspect of things with people, as you can see on our websites here. Oh, come on now. As you can see on our information, you can or drpatrickflynn.com. You can go to chriszaino.com or zainoexperience.com. Get a hold of us, guys. We'll go through anything with you that way. Hope to see you guys at one of our next webinars or one of our next seminars that way. Watch for the things that we're always teaching. We always got some great things that take you to a whole other level. So, Dr. Chris, thank you as always, and I will talk to all you guys very soon. God bless all you guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.